Hi everyone, welcome to episode 6 of this Valorant Life podcast. Join Adam and myself as we explore the power of sleep, meditation, and exercise and how this will level up your performance in Valorant. And with that, let's get into it. Hi everyone, welcome to this Valorant Life. I'm here with my co-host and friend Adam. We're going to get into general health routines today, meditation, workouts, and the other things we do to perform in Valorant. And so let's start off, Adam. Why is meditation important?
This can be pretty much simplified into just being able to perform. I think a lot of people will struggle tilting or maybe getting overly invested into the game or maybe even just getting distracted from other things. So I like to think of meditation as a way to really train your focus and I guess get rid of all of the distractions. If anyone's really a serious player, they should consider meditation because it's probably fundamentally the most important skill for you to have, because if you don't have your own mental when you play the game, you're just on autopilot.
Like in certain other sports, you might have, let's say basketball, right? You might have like height just as a skill or maybe like an inherent characteristic, right? You might have speed, hand-eye coordination, all these things. And you might have all of these things in Valorant, but the only thing you can focus all of these things through, like your hand-eye coordination, like your aiming, is like through your focus. If you're focused on other things, like it doesn't matter how naturally talented you are, it's going to be hard to actually perform to 100% of your ability.
That makes sense.
Well, how did you get into meditating?
I guess it goes all the way back to, I guess for some reason I was introduced to Headspace. Maybe it was an ad or something like that. I walked through some of those sessions before and I was like, oh, this is pretty cool. And then on and off, I don't really use it. And then I got reintroduced into meditation when I started playing Valorant again. I was like, huh. People always talk about the mental game, and I knew my mental game was weak. And it's not something that I focused on when I was competing, which is something I would change if I were to go back. For those of you who are trying to go pro, take that. But I guess after I stopped competing, my mental was like not really good. So I had to really focus in on it. And I remember you sent me a video of the deep game. And that's where I really focused in on it again, to like the importance of tying it to video games. But before that, I heard about it in podcast. I was introduced to some conversations and podcasts with my coworker at the time, and I downloaded this app called Waking Up. Sam Harris, I think some people have heard of him, but he has that app. It's a really good app, and I was able to get it for free just because there's a way for you to subscribe to get it to free if you go through the thing. But in short, I guess after I competed and I was like mentally in the dubs, I was like, okay, I need to figure out something to help that. So I was looking into Waking Up, and then once I got my feet under me, then when I was taking Valorant a little bit more seriously again, working with you, that's where the deep game came in, and now it's been a little bit more of a regular thing, even though I'm not 100% consistent. I'll say I'll probably do it like once every week, maybe every 2 weeks.
What have you noticed as the benefits of doing meditation?
There's the immediate benefit. If I'm feeling really anxious or stressed or something like that, it feels so much nicer to just be able to, I guess, release somehow. Like it just goes away. But maybe even more so, the main benefit in my day-to-day now is if I feel like something's gonna tilt me or disturb me, I can practice what I do in the meditation sessions and just do it in that moment. So taking a deep breath or focusing on my breath and just maybe get rid of the emotion at the source. It's not perfect. There are times where that doesn't happen, but I catch myself, I'm like, oh, I was able to not tilt this time or not get emotionally overwhelmed this time, and just moving that needle a little bit.
Yeah, I think meditation is really helpful to just build that self-awareness to actually even notice what you're thinking, because we're often just like 100% in our thoughts and we don't even notice that we're like tilting, or we don't notice that we are out of our optimal zone of, like they call it, I think that's like the optimal zone of arousal in terms of just like challenge and your focus. But if we're to like, we can't actually be focused, right? And so the meditation is like being able to notice that, whereas without meditation, you're just trapped in that kind of hamster wheel. And I remember when I sent you that deep game thing, I've been doing like meditation for years now, and I've never enjoyed it until I was listening to his, and I will actually probably put a link down there in the description. But that was actually the first time I really enjoyed it, and also was the first time it linked into how it actually can support flow, right? Like we know flow, or when you have focus, flow follows. So if you can train focus, then maybe part of this is you can actually almost train flow, which is the thing we're always trying to get into. But when you do it, then what is your typical structure now? Do you follow a program? Do you listen to something, or are you just doing it on your own, kind of self-guided?
Yeah, so I've experimented with both, and I think I like it a little bit more when there is structure and like guided meditation, like a voice to follow. Maybe it's just
Mm-hmm.
because I'm not really super good at it, or maybe I'm not as consistent as I could be.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess because I would still consider myself a novice, I do prefer the guided. I did a week or two straight where I was just doing I would set a timer, no
Yeah.
sound, and just do it that way, and it was great for sure. But I felt like I was getting really focused on, I guess, my posture.
Mm-hmm.
Because not having a voice to listen to, I was like focused on how I was sitting, all that stuff, which maybe is another important thing to point out is for those of you that are trying to get into meditation, posture can be a really important thing. And I'm still trying to figure it out, but just maybe understand that you won't have the perfect posture. And it's more so about just maybe fine tuning it as you go from each session to session.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a bunch of different postures out there, but maybe we can get into that later.
Well, what do you typically, if you are setting up to do a meditation session, like what's the length and what is the typical like environment that you're trying to set yourself up in?
I try to make sure I'm alone. If there's, maybe I'll go into the room and close the door. I like to sit on the floor. I've tried doing it on the chair. Way back in the past when I first started introducing or
Yeah.
was introduced to it, I used to sit on the bed and lay or put my back against the wall and then I would fall asleep. So nowadays I just go on the floor, sit down. I experiment with different like positions for my feet, but right now I'm just doing a half sitting position. But anyways, it's about like 10 minutes. I would
10
say
minutes.
if
Okay.
I'm really into it, I'll do 20 minutes. And
Okay.
then I'll get my headphones and I'll just put on the guided meditation for
Yeah.
about 10 minutes and I'll just go from there. I get
Okay.
a little couch cushion. I like to sit on that.
Okay. I feel like the environment for me, I've noticed is really important because you don't want it to do it in a place where one, you think you're going to get interrupted. I was like trying to fit it in somewhere. I think it was like in a parking lot. So I was in my car and I'm like this, just like meditating. And then I'm like, oh, yes, like I get to meditate now. And then like halfway through, someone knocked on the window. And they're like, sir, are you okay? And I'm like, oh, I was like, I was just there. And it's like hard to go back.
It's funny.
Being somewhere where you won't be interrupted, I feel is important. And then finding something that like feels comfortable because you're going to be in that position for 15, 20 minutes. So you will notice if you're like slouching because you'll start to like ache, right? So like
Yes.
it's like finding out for you what is that comfortable, like neutral position.
Yeah.
Have you experimented using it as your warm up?
Yes, for maybe a period of I want to say a month or two. I don't know the exact time frame, but in my routine I would do yoga and then follow it immediately with meditation in the morning, and that would jumpstart my day. And then I would go to the gym, eat whatever. Sometimes I would do it directly before I play in streams like that, but I think, in my opinion, I think it works best for me maybe to do it either directly in the morning to start my day or do it maybe sometime after I play. So it does so
Okay.
the ranked games don't ruin my day afterwards.
Okay. It's like a almost like a cleansing ritual.
Yes.
Okay.
And maybe to touch on this a little bit more, because I did like doing it in the morning. The
Yeah.
reason why I shifted to doing it afterwards is because I really felt like an energy decline after I ended my stream. I was like, I'm tired, I'm gonna eat, and then it's like really hard to be productive afterwards. Like
Mm.
I said, I'm not 100% consistent with it. If anything, I would say I need to be much more consistent. But I think maybe if I was in a perfect world, I would do both
Mm.
before and after something. But I definitely doing it after just to get some energy again.
That deep game guy, he talks about Jamal Murray, who is the world champion, I think NBA world champion. He just won with the Nuggets. So he was like, even in high school, would like meditate half an hour before and after every game, which I think is actually pretty intense. But I think it goes to show that it's something worth experimenting with to see like how it works for you and whether it's like a useful practice. What about workout? Like, how did you get maybe what prompted you to start working out, and what's been your journey like?
So some of the details here, but I'll start from the very start. September 7th, 2021 was my first photo that I took before I knew I was going to start working out. I was 97 pounds. I was 21 years old. I'm 5'10" for height wise. So that's very underweight. And I was very unhappy with how I looked in the mirror.
Mm.
This was also somewhat after a few months down the road after some, I guess, after I quit competing in Valorant. So
Yeah.
I was like, man, I need to do something. If I'm
Mhm.
not grinding Valorant, I need to figure out my mental health somewhere else. So went to my former best friend's birthday party. I say former just because we weren't in touch, but then he turned 21. He was like, oh, come out. I met one of my high school friends there again, and he was looking pretty buff. I was like, dude, you're looking good, man. And he was like, yeah, I can help you out and go to the gym if you want. And then I was going to the gym for about 3 months, pretty consistently. Like I would say every single day I was going with him, 5 days a week, sorry. And I was able to gain some weight there. I gained about 15 pounds and I felt a lot more confident. Before I was like trying to hide myself, I was feeling really small. And this, I think, reflected a lot in my games. I don't know if anyone, I'm sure a lot of people can relate to overthinking
Mm.
and trying to overcompensate maybe. In some areas, I was definitely overcompensating with Valorant when I would aim train. I'm like, oh my God, aim is everything. I was like, this is how I'm going to express myself. When reality, maybe I felt so small in comparison to other people, like enemies or teammates, that I just
Mhm.
had to try to get really strong in one area instead of like maybe leveling up my bottleneck. After those 3 months, it's been on and off,
Mhm.
but I think the important part was like, oh, I can do this. I can make progress here. For those who are curious now, like I'm 135 now, so I'm still working on where I'm at. It's been two
Pretty
years,
huge.
pretty big. Could be more, obviously, but
Mhm.
I'm pretty happy with it. So it's been 2 years since then. I think I'm much more confident now as a person.
Mhm.
And it's weird to say, but like before I would walk around in public and I
Mhm.
would like not be comfortable at all, or
Mm.
maybe I would wear clothes to try to hide certain like my arms or my legs. And
Yeah.
with it summer just ending and stuff, you have to wear shorts, otherwise
Yeah.
you're gonna melt.
Yeah.
It's been really good.
Yeah.
And maybe the most important part to take away for gaming is because my whole identity isn't based on how good I am at a video game, I can
Yeah.
also get a little bit of self-worth and confidence from how I'm feeling. Not even just what I look like, but how I feel on a day-to-day basis is really big. And then
Mm.
also just knowing I can be consistent with working out and doing something. So just the fact that I was able to prove that to myself was really big, I guess.
No, for sure. I mean, that's huge. I think like a big part of it is sometimes almost the that it couldn't happen, that we can't actually make it happen for ourselves. But if you are willing to put in the work and you can find something that works for you, you will get results. None of us are going to look like Sebum, right? And none of us are going
Yes.
to look like LeBron James because we don't have that genetic capability, but we can be the best version of ourselves if we keep working on it. I know for me, it took me, I fall started trying to go to the gym at least, I feel like a dozen times through my high school to early young professional career. And then it was only in my 20s actually that I was able to actually, so you're earlier than me, way to go, Adam. Like
Nice.
actually be able to commit to going to the gym. And man, it was like a huge transformation for me just to be able to, again, more comfortable with my body, felt more comfortable with the way I looked, but also it actually feels really nice to feel strong. It feels like really nice to be able to do things and not be worried you're going to hurt yourself. And I think you alluded to this. Like, it's huge to not, like, to be able to do anything well is to not depend on it 100% for your self worth, right? You can play ranked at any level of efficacy and you're close to your potential. If losing one RR is going to crush your day, because then you're going to play scared, right? Like, you can't play the full version of yourself. Like, a big part of this is we're not robots and we need to be able to take like the full version of ourselves and support the full version of ourselves if we want to even be good at a video game.
Yeah, I agree with that. And just from working with a lot of people, it
Mhm.
feels like some of them have their lives balanced, which reflects like with how quickly they learn the game. But for those that are super, I would even say overly invested into the game,
Yeah.
they're the ones that I think are hard stuck. Like it's
Mhm.
very easy for them to be maybe narrow-sighted or short-sighted, maybe is a better way of saying it. And they're just looking at, oh, I played bad today. Everything
Mm-hmm.
is not working. Or I played
Mm-hmm.
bad, this week. Or, maybe I'm not where I want to be this month. And they're just like overly obsessing almost of not being where they want to be. Whereas like those are the people that are balanced. Are like, oh, maybe like I am playing bad, but who cares? Like I
Mm-hmm.
made progress. Like I'm 1 month ago I was here and now I'm here,
Mm-hmm.
or etc. So I think that's like a big part of it too. If you aren't balanced, or
Mm-hmm.
if you don't have that confidence in yourself, it's very easy to just look at results. And going back to the earlier conversations with the growth mindset and all of that, if you can't really foster that somewhere else in your life, which I think working out is a very straightforward way of maybe
Mm-hmm.
adopting this growth mindset. If you don't have that before, it's very difficult to understand and be okay with your progress in just Valorant. Yeah.
Yeah, I could see like working out or any of this health stuff being like a useful, like kind of shock to your system of breaking you out of these habits of feeling really stuck, right? So
Yes.
I could totally see that working. We've had conversations between there's an optimal routine, which maybe is go to the gym 5 days a week for 2 hour workouts. By the way, that's not optimal for beginners, but like where have you landed on what works for you? Because I think there's a distinction to be made between what's optimal and what's sustainable and reasonable.
Yeah, I think what works for me definitely varies. When I was a little bit more motivated and I had a gym buddy, going 5 days a week was no problem. I was
Hmm.
going for about an hour 15 every single day, like I said, for the weekdays, and that was like completely reasonable. But like
Hmm.
when I stopped going to the gym with him, just because we graduated and things like
Yeah.
that. It was very difficult for me to sustain that. I was like, oh my God, I'm not
Hmm.
going to the gym at all. I was losing
Hmm.
progress. I was almost mentally attacking myself for like, why can't
Hmm.
you do this? And I
Hmm.
realized for me, what works is going to the gym less, but also for less time. So I
Hmm.
experimented with a bunch of different splits. I experimented with the full body split, which is
Yeah.
people do Monday, Wednesday, Friday sometimes, just three
Yeah.
times a week. I like to do it a little bit more like sequentially. So I like to do a upper lower split. Technically, I do a lower upper, but it's 4 days a week. And this
Hmm.
lets me build momentum for the first 2 days, take a
Hmm.
rest day, and then get that energy back to do the next two, and then
Okay.
two rest days. So that
So
works
you,
well
you
for
do
me.
Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday?
Yes, Monday,
Okay.
Tuesday, Thursday, Friday.
Okay.
And to be honest, I could be doing a lot more. Like when I go, the sessions are, 30 to 45 minutes.
Okay.
And I could be doing an hour, but as long as I get the big compound movements in, and I'm
Yeah.
tracking my progress on that app you told me about, Strength,
Oh, strong.
Strong, I
Yeah.
said Strength, works really well.
Hmm.
And when I see myself like progressing weight rise or reps wise, I know I'm doing well. So for me, 30 to 45 minutes is reasonable 4 times a week.
I think for me, I think for the largest part of my like workout kind of journey, I think it was like 4 times a week. And it was like a lot of compounds, like a lot of really like heavy reps. So singles, doubles, triples. But now that I've reached my kind of deadlift goals and my powerlifting goals, I don't feel the need to be dedicating that. Now I'm more on maintenance. So now I'm actually down to just like 2 times a week and it's 45 minutes to an hour. And so my experience has been that's been nice to get the time back, but also to make that 45 minutes worth it. Like I like kill myself in the gym every time. Like I'm going like every rep to almost failure or failure, and it's
It's
very
rough.
tiring.
Yeah.
It does make you question your existence, but then I'm like, okay, I'm gonna get my money's worth for these 45 minutes. That's been my experience, but that's because that's what works for me. And I think like a really big part of this is don't do a routine, don't commit to a level of times per week to go to the gym that you can't actually even make work with your life because you've got other things you need to deal with, whether it's working or relationships or family, et cetera, et cetera. Like you shouldn't be using like a level of commitment to the gym that actually like diminishes or like damages other parts of your life.
I agree.
Yeah.
And maybe to touch on this quickly, like for those of you trying to get into the gym, if it's a priority, let's say your number one priority, I think it'll be a lot easier for you to go multiple times. But eventually, you'll maybe let's say like after 3 months, you'll be like, oh, I say 3 months because that's how it was for me. But you might feel less motivated and things like that. And it's okay to then shift your schedule to fit what's happening in your life afterwards because you might have
Mhm.
another priority in your life.
Mhm.
But the important thing, I guess, is just trying to be somewhat consistent with what you end up doing, you don't want to have huge breaks. Because even if you go, let's say, from 5 days a week down to even 3 or 2 days a week, as long as you're continuing, your body will eventually progress. And that's the big part. Instead of just being like, oh, I can't stick to 5 days a week, I'm just not going to work out at all until I'm ready to go 5 days a week again. And that doesn't make any sense.
The other major thing that I think it's a little bit helpful is like understanding like what your goals are. Because I think a lot of people just go to the gym, but there's like a lot of different reasons people go to the gym, right? Sebum is a bodybuilder. He's very strong, right? But he's a bodybuilder. Then there are people that really just want to lift really heavy things off the floor. Those are power lifters, and they're not often the biggest. They don't often look like they have the biggest muscles, even if they're really strong. And then lastly, that I would say it's like kind of a third category, which is like athletic performance, right? Like you're trying to actually lift and do exercises so you can actually be faster, stronger, like playing a sport. And all these modalities, I would say, have like different focuses in the gym. Like right now, would you say, I think you're on like, you're focused on hypertrophy, right? Which would be like
100%.
trying to get bigger muscles, right?
Yes.
And so the routines that you do for hypertrophy, like they're not like black and white, totally different than powerlifting or athletic training, but they're distinct from it.
Yes. Good to know. Good to outline, especially for those looking to get in the gym. Yeah.
Health routine. What are the things that you do to take care of your health? Or what are the things that you found that are useful?
So maybe the first thing to really think about here for me was the morning walks. I try to emphasize this as much as I can, but the reason why this is so important is because it ties into your sleep schedule. Sleep is probably the number one thing that you can do, like irrespective of, or like most important, even if you were trying to look at diet, nutrition, drugs, whatever the case may be, like sleep is fundamentally the number one thing. So tying this back in, by going on a morning walk, you help yourself stick to that sleep routine because your body like wakes up at this time, and then you'll get tired earlier or like around nighttime because it anchors your sleep schedule. So I highly recommend this one. I think it's almost non-disputable or arguable not to do
Yeah.
it in a way.
Yeah. You did it because of the Andrew Huberman thing, right? Morning
Yes.
sunlight thing. So maybe explain what the theory is behind that.
Okay, from my understanding, it's something to do with your cortisol spike.
Yeah.
And by viewing morning sunlight at a certain angle, whatever, just in the morning, it spikes your cortisol so that wakes you up and that keeps your sleeping schedule anchored to that point. And then there's other things like dopamine and things like that, which is very useful. But just for the sleep aspect, I believe that's the explanation there. And just for the guideline, it's about 5 to 20 minutes outside, depending on cloud coverage. So full sunny day, it might be 5 minutes. And if it's like super cloudy or super rainy, even if you can't see the sun, it will be brighter than what it is inside the house. And a big note here is windows and car windows do not work. They get filtered out, whatever. It'll take 10 times the amount. It'll be like a whole hour. Yeah, just get outside for a few minutes. You'll be good.
Even if it's cloudy. I
Yes.
found it, I've noticed it helps me too, like to wake up and also to fall asleep. What about the cold showers?
Cold showers, I really liked doing. I did it along with that first 3 months of
Yeah.
working out. With this one, I would say it makes you feel like, for lack of a better word, like badass almost. Like you're like fighting for your life in the shower. At that point in my life, I really derived some mental benefits from it.
Okay, okay.
But maybe that's like something to distinguish is like with cold showers, you do have two benefits, right? You have the physical aspect, which
Yeah.
people like to do with recovery or fat loss or whatever the case may be. But the other thing that's like less maybe obvious is the mental side of things. If
Yeah.
you expose yourself to a stressor like that and you can control your thoughts or your breathing even, it maybe coincides with meditation in that sense. It's like you train your mental, and at that time it was very useful for me.
hmm
So
I think they did a study. I think it was in Denmark. It was like thousands of people, and like I think a third to maybe 50% kept doing it, which is like an astonishing thing that someone would keep doing cold showers because they're not. Doesn't matter how many times how many times you've done them. They're very uncomfortable, but they found that the biggest change was that people when they everyone got sick at the same rates, but people who did cold showers got less sick. Like their symptoms were less. The things that I've done that are in this routine that are not really related to the working out is sauna actually I got this Aura ring. It measures my sleep. And when I do the sauna and then I go to bed after, not if I do the sauna in the day and that night, I get like amazing sleep. It's pretty crazy. And the other one is type 2 cardio, which is recommended to build up your cardio capacity. So I'm a big fan of this because I don't like cardio, and type 2 cardio is like very easy cardio. It's like pretty
Okay.
chill. So you can just totally like just do cardio and watch a TV show, or do cardio and watch YouTube. And in my opinion, that's pretty nice because I don't like cardio. So those are the things that I've done, and I found that to be very helpful. Like the other part of this is the flip side is on the sauna really helps with your sleep. Alcohol, if you have it close to bed, is especially like you like one drink is like okay, but like anything more than one drink, it really hammers your sleep. Like when I measure, like I have the sleep ring, my sleep goes to like my regular like let's say 42 beats per minute is my like average sleeping heart rate. If I'm not drinking, I hit that almost right away. If I am drinking and I've had a couple drinks before bed, like I'll go to bed at 10 and I might not hit my like average heart rate until 4 a.m.
That is crazy.
Like it
Six
takes
hours?
forever to come down. It's
Yeah.
like it's starting at 60 and then right at 2 hours before I get up, it's gonna hit 40. Or maybe sometimes it doesn't even get down there. So it's pretty crazy negative effects. Oh, like if you have one drink at lunch, it's like out of your body by the time you go to bed, so it doesn't matter. But if you have a drink late at night or a couple drinks earlier in the night that are still like processing, man, it kicks your sleep sass.
That's crazy. I know caffeine's a big one here too. Being like a sleep deprived industry or nation, a lot of people do rely on caffeine and they'll take it later in the day and it messes up their sleep. This is how it is for me. I don't really like drinking caffeine towards sleeping time, but in general, I'm not really a big fan of caffeine. I try to avoid it unless I need it. Oh,
Mhm.
I guess going back to the cold showers, it does give you like an
Yeah.
energy boost. So,
It's
you
supposed to give
might.
you like lots of you feel it coming out like endorphins and stuff. So back in the day, it's not that popular anymore. There's this Bikram's hot yoga. Have you ever heard of Bikram's hot
I have
yoga?
not.
Okay.
No.
So like you do yoga, but it's like a swamp inside and it's 36 degrees. Okay. So I'm just doing
Okay.
like regular yoga poses like this and like leaning like super hard. Like you're just dying in there. Okay. And so they do this thing where you're dying in there for 30 minutes. And then when you leave, it's like euphoric. Like you've just been like struggling for half an hour, 40 minutes. And then that's when they hit you with sign up for an unlimited pass. But I think it's like similar. Like when you're in a really uncomfortable environment, you get to leave. It feels amazing.
Very good.
Um, what is your wind down routine?
So basically, I try to get off around 8. I don't really want to be on my computer after that. Occasionally, I'll go a little bit over, but I really do try to stick to it. At the very least, irrespective of that, I'll eat dinner and then I'll just watch TV with my girlfriend and then shower and then I'm off to bed. So I try to stay off of my computer. That's the big thing for me, computer and phone. So after I'm off the computer, I put my phone on the counter behind me and I keep it there. So when the alarm goes off in the morning, I have to get out of bed and, you
Oh,
know,
okay, okay.
yeah. So it's not in the room.
So that's where it stays. It charges there.
Yeah, it charges there. It's right there,
Okay.
just by the kitchen, which helps because then I just go to the bathroom and then I'll come back and yeah, I'm up for the morning. But that's about it. I'll watch some TV shows before I go to bed or whatever. But around 10:15, 10:30, I'll just put the sleep mask on
Yeah.
because my girlfriend likes to have the TV on, but just the lights and stuff keeps me up. So I
Yeah.
just put the sleep mask on. I'm out. One small thing that maybe is a big thing is
Yeah.
occasionally I'll use this like tape, which is weird for some, but I tape my
Oh, it's
mouth.
tape your mouth?
Yes,
Yeah, nose.
yes. So for those of you that mouth breathe, and I didn't think I mouth breathe, but I think I've proven that I do.
Mm-hmm.
So when I put the tape on, my sleep quality feels a lot like I feel way more refreshed in the morning. It's like night and day almost. It's like I wake up groggy. I'm like,
Okay, so I gotta ask,
whatever.
are you like what kind of tape were you using? Duct tape? Like
It's
rip
called
it off.
that would be ridiculous. It's called micro port tape. I just
Okay. Oh yeah, I know the one. Like
yeah.
3M.
Yeah, yep, 3 minute. Yeah,
Okay.
it's pretty cheap. You can get like a whole pack. Like I think I have 6 different rolls, whatever. But it's really affordable. I
Okay,
just
how much tape do you need to use? Is it like just one, or is it like one, two, three? Or
so I like to do it horizontal, so like I can stretch it
oh,
across
okay,
my.
okay,
Yeah,
okay.
but when I first started using it, I like kept it between my lips here. But that was because I only had one roll. Then I got
Okay.
more rolls, so now I'm like a lot more
Generous.
Generous. Yeah, now I'm just like,
Okay.
I just tape the whole thing. But it doesn't really matter too much, I think, how much you use, as long as
It holds your.
it closes your mouth. Exactly.
Okay, but did you ever struggle to feel like you were struggling to breathe through your nose?
No, I think
Okay.
like it's just automatic almost for me to breathe through my mouth. My teeth are weird, so like on my
Okay.
resting face, my teeth would open my lips
Yeah.
automatically.
Okay.
So with the tape, it just stops that,
Okay.
and that's a really big thing for me. So a weird thing, but if you're
No,
not
I've
really
heard of it.
feeling, it's
I
good.
mean, and it's supposed to be way better for you to just generally breathe through your nose, even more than just not looking like a mouth breather
Yes.
in regular life. But I've thought about it. Okay. Now I feel like I'm convinced enough to try.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
maybe side tangent, but that productivity YouTuber that you sent me with the Trident calendar, what's his
Yeah.
name?
Ali Abdal.
Yes, he uses something like that, but it's
Oh,
like
does he?
much more. It's like a much more expensive product that's designed for mouth tape.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Um, but you can just get away with micro pore tape.
Okay. I feel like it maybe is like the tape, but then it still looks like you have lips, like a sticker
That
or
would be
something.
hilarious. Yeah.
Um, okay. Maybe we can talk about the importance of sleep. Like, how have you noticed the importance of sleep in your life?
So this maybe we'll go back to. So I've been gaming since I was 5. As a result,
Five?
yeah,
Okay, what was your first gaming system?
I had a computer when I was 5.
When you're five. Wow.
But
Okay.
I just played Microsoft or not solitaire and like Spider Solitaire things like that.
Okay.
But I had an Xbox and a PlayStation, played like Halo, whatever. But as a result, I would be more likely to stay up late.
Okay. Yeah.
And all throughout high school and into college, my sleep schedule was terrible. Like by
Okay.
terrible, I mean like high school, I was sleeping like 2 a.m., getting really tired, like sleeping in class.
Yeah.
Thankfully, not completely failing my classes, but into college, because you get to pick your own classes
Yeah.
almost in your own schedule. No 8 a.m.s. Any 8 a.m.s I did go, like I signed up for, I was skipping it. Long story short, my sleep schedule was terrible my entire life. And even when I was competing after college.
Okay.
So that didn't mean that my sleep was maybe bad or not like I was getting enough. I was sleeping a lot. But the problem here, I think, is maybe I was even oversleeping. But because I was sleeping late and staying up late, I wasn't getting that morning sunlight.
Yeah.
And I just felt groggy throughout the day.
All.
I'm sure all day.
Yeah.
I'm sure there was like a bunch of factors, maybe my diet, maybe
Yeah.
the fact that I was 97 pounds, all that
Mhm.
other stuff. But by getting your sleep in line, not only just the length, the quality, but also the timing, at least for me,
Mhm.
it, I want to say like I feel like a completely new person. I know that's so cliche to say, but if you were to compare me 2 years ago to who I am now, it's pretty
Mhm.
drastic. And I think a large portion of that was due to my sleep schedule. It's very easy to waste away those hours at 11 a.m. or 11 p.m. to 2 a.m. to 3 a.m. It's like you're just scrolling YouTube, and it's very easy, at least for me. I would say self-diagnosed. I thought I had depression. It was very
Mhm.
hard for me to do anything. And I like had this victim's mindset. I was like, oh my God, I can't believe I didn't do this. I didn't make it pro, like all that stuff, which probably most of it derived from the fact that my sleep schedule was, one, I was waking up at like in the
Yeah.
PMs, and two, like the quality and
Yeah.
the quantity wasn't as strict as it should have been.
The messed up sleep schedule was like actually having negative effects on your mental health in general.
Mhm. And I didn't think it, that was the thing. I never thought that the sleep was really the issue. Like I was like,
Yeah.
oh, what's the problem if I sleep later in the day or maybe sleep less? Because I did it all my life. Like I didn't know what it was really like when
Mhm.
it was normal or good. And now that I am on that other side, like just from a 2 year gap, like doing it for 21 years or maybe less than that, because when I was a baby, I'm sure I was sleeping
Mhm.
normally, to just the 2 years recently that I've tried to dial this in on, it's been, I mean, drastic, like
Yeah.
immensely drastic. And I'm sure just being in the gaming space for so long, which is why I mentioned it earlier, just to tie it all together, like the people that I learned about and hung around with in games and all that, like they also had terrible sleep schedules. It's very
Yeah.
easy to get in that loop and be like, hey, yeah, let's just game all night.
Yeah.
Or there's a new event out, let's grind that for 10
Yeah.
hours, 12 hours. And it's unfortunate, I guess.
Yeah.
That's what is pushed in the gaming space. So hopefully anyone that's listening to this, dial in your sleep schedule. You may lose a bit of time
Mhm.
that you hang out with your friends on the game, because they stay up. But if you can shift your day over earlier to get good sleep, it'll be really useful. And your day won't feel like it's all gone. Like
Yeah.
that for me was like a big thing. Like waking
Yeah.
up at 2 p.m. I'm like, oh my God, I only have like 8 hours in the day, and then it's 10 p.m. and it's dark and I can't do anything. So
Hmm.
I might as well stay inside and justify however it means to play more video games.
So how do you think sleep can help players perform in Valorant?
The big one I think is if you're rested, you're going to
Hmm.
play better. But maybe more importantly, if you don't get enough sleep, you're not going to be able to apply what you learned from the previous day
Hmm.
into the next day. And it's been proven that like quality sleep and rest is really important for recovery and learning in general. So if you don't have that, you're not going to apply and learn for your games. If you like, if we were to compare two schedules, if you play 4 games a day versus 16 games a day, but one person gets 8 hours or more of sleep, and then one person gets 5 hours of sleep, the 16 player game, the games played a day. Compare those two, I would probably argue like the 4 games played per day with adequate sleep in the long run will outpace like learning for the other person. Yeah. In short, learning and like actually performing, those are the two big things. And if you want to learn, you have to get sleep. If you want to perform, you have to get sleep. So this is why we're going back to it. So important is this is the number one thing you can do.
It's super huge. I think there's like when you lift, when you're preparing for a tournament and or a meet, a powerlifting meet, you lift and then you taper your volume. So you start doing less and less because your strength is here, but like you keep getting stronger, but the recovery keeps knocking down. You need the recovery to build back up. And so when you are preparing for a meet, you need to actually taper your volume so that when you get to the meet, you are fully recovered and you can fully express your strength. So there's like actually a difference between what your potential is and your ability to express that potential. And I think if you are not sleeping, it doesn't matter. Your potential could be here, but if you don't sleep, you're never actually reaching your potential. Like you're always sub or below optimal. So that's number one. And then to summarize your second point is we just know that you can't consolidate the learnings unless you sleep. Like it's a fundamental part of like how we work. I've seen it like actually in my kids, like they like learn things overnight because they need the sleep consolidation. You can't just bang your head against the wall and then learn it. And so it's pretty crazy that it has such systemic effects on learning, recovery, mental health, immune system. So like just has a variety of effects on your life, and being able to just do it and commit to a regular routine is so huge. So maybe on that then, what is your regular routine now around sleep?
So I'm pretty much in bed by around 10. I would say
Yeah.
11 at the latest.
Yeah.
And I wake up at 8. That's typically
Yeah.
how it goes. So I have like more than adequate amount of time to fall asleep and get the sleep that I need. And then when I wake up in the morning to my alarm, I'm not hating life and wishing I had more sleep. So that's pretty much it. I shower, or I eat, then I shower, and then I'm in bed by 10 or 11 and 8.
And when
8
you
a.m.
journal, when do you journal?
So I used to journal every single day right before I go to bed. I did it for probably 2 months. I haven't done it a little bit. I'm not as consistent anymore. I probably do it like once a month now. But
But what did
if
it give you when you got to do the journaling? What did it give you and how did it affect sleep?
So maybe to give a little bit of context here, but let me answer it first and then I'll long story it. It helped me synthesize my thoughts, and anything like that I was thinking about would just be put to the side, or I would put it on paper so that wouldn't keep me up at night. Being an overthinker is very easy for me to do that. And I don't know, this is a weird thing to say, but in high school, before I go to sleep, I would go through what I needed to do the next day for homework. Like almost like mentally doing my to-do list or like doing my journal. And this was like a very regular thing. I thought it was normal until I grew up and started asking people about it. Not normal, apparently. No. That, I guess, getting
Completely
older.
reasonable, but not normal.
Yeah. So getting older now, like I have more things to do, or like maybe I'm not as good with it, or maybe it's because like school was like really structured and now life isn't super structured. Whatever the case may be, I can't do that anymore. Like I'll just forget stuff. So by journaling, like I know exactly what I needed to cover, and that was really good. It cools you down. It like slows your thoughts more because you have to like think to the pace of your writing. It's really good. something that I replaced the journaling habit with for a pretty good period of time was reading 10 pages a night. Sometimes before I would do both journal and then read,
Mhm.
but after that I would just only read, and then after that I don't really do either, which I need to get back
Sure.
into. This is a good reminder to get back into that. But if you read 10 pages a night, you're just going to immediately knock out. Like, you're just going to fall asleep right after. It's insane. And your dreams will be like weird too, related to the book,
Okay.
at least in my experience. I've been reading Game of Thrones.
Oh, okay.
And yeah,
Where are you on?
the first one. I'm about like
First
halfway
one.
through it. Yeah.
What's it called again?
I think it's literally just Game of Thrones.
Is the first one just Game of Thrones? Okay,
I
okay.
think so. Pretty good.
It is. I read all five, and then
Okay.
I was like, oh, I'm not going to keep watching the show because it's past the books. And that was like, I don't know, 7 or 8 years ago. I'm like, because the
Same.
books will catch up. And now I don't think the books will catch up.
Yeah. Yeah.
How does journaling, you didn't answer, how does journaling benefit your sleep? Or did it?
Yeah, it did. Because I didn't overthink or
Yeah.
be stuck in my thoughts that night. Because regularly, if I didn't journal, I'd be like thinking about the next day for 30 minutes, an hour, and my mind's just continuously online, to put it that way. By journaling, it gave me permission to turn off my brain.
I've heard people do morning pages too, which is you just have to free write for 2 pages in the morning. I just started journaling recently. I think it was like it's an interesting thing for people to try. Like I think so many of these things, there's like a whole laundry list of things you can try. They may not all work for you, but part of getting good at living your life is like figuring out which ones work for you.
For those of you who want to transition to this and don't want to get a physical journal, which I highly recommend. If you are going to journal, you should get a physical journal. Like, writing it down on paper is so much nicer. But when I first got into it, I was using this app called Day One, and I was doing it specifically for gratitude journaling. So I would wake
Okay.
up, I would reach for my phone, turn off the alarm, or if I didn't have an alarm, I would just look at the notification, open the app, and then write down 3 things I'm grateful for. This is also back in that period of time when I was working out, doing the cold showers, and it was like my grind time, I
Yeah.
guess.
No, it was your glow up.
Yeah, it was my glow up
It,
part.
it was your time. It was your time skip.
Yes, I was going through I had a pretty good streak on it, and
Yeah.
I guess that's one benefit to doing with the app. You can see your
Yeah.
streak to
Yeah.
keep yourself motivated. But yeah, that's just one way you can get into journaling. If you want to
Okay.
do it that way, it's just getting an app. But please eventually transition into a hard physical copy.
Yeah. It's just way better.
It is.
All right. I think that's it for this week. Unless you had anything else, Adam.
No, just take care of yourselves. Us gamers be gaming too much.
Thanks for tuning in, and until next week.
Until next week, thank you.